Today I'm going to share my most anticipated book releases for the rest of 2025. I do these videos every couple of months where I talk about book releases that are coming out every 3 months, so I do for a year, and we have now reached the last one of the year where I talk about books that are coming out in October, November, and December. The end of the year tends to be a bit more chill for publishing, at least for stuff that I'm interested in, where there will be a good amount of stuff I'm interested in October, a little bit in November, and usually not much of anything in December, which works out really nicely because towards the end of the year, I like to take time, especially in November when the Goodreads Choice Awards winners are announced, to read some of the best books of the year according to different awards or books that I see people talking about all year. So I do like that I don't have as many books that are brand new to talk about because it makes it a little easier to do those other things at the end of the year reading as well. Most of these books are going to be mystery, thriller, horror books, but you're also going to see some fantasy, sci-fi, and romance because I read across those categories a bit more now. Open up your Goodreads, get your paper and your pen, open your story graph, whatever you use to track what you want to read, and get ready to put down some books. Before getting started, I wanted to take a quick moment to thank the sponsor of today's video, FlexiSpot. If you keep up with my channel, you know I'm very select with the sponsorships I will actually work with on my channel. I really only like to work with products and brands that I actually like and incorporate into my everyday, and I have worked with FlexiSpot before in the past, so that may sound familiar to you. FlexiSpot makes a range of products, and I actually use one of their standing desks as the desk that I use every single day for my home office workspace. My partner uses a FlexiSpot standing desk. We're big fans of their products. And today I'm here to tell you about FlexiSpot's Lotus Recliner, which is my new favorite chair in my home. It has nice spacious seating so you can really get comfortable sitting in the chair. The reclining obviously is very nice. It has buttons on the side so you can recline all the way back or partially back and then bring the chair back up. The chair also swivels, which is super convenient, and it also rocks back and forth. And it is just making for the absolute perfect reading chair. It comes in several styles and colors. I personally have the electric chair that comes in the sunset brown leather color, and the chair also had some surprise features that I didn't know it was going to have that have been a nice little surprise to find. On the side, there's this storage space that you can't even tell is on the chair. It really hides itself there really nicely, and you can put whatever you want in there. If you have this in your living room, you can put remotes in there. If you're using it as a reading chair, you can put reading materials. If you like to use it for crafting, you can put your crafts in there. And there's also a USB charging port on the chair, which is super convenient for charging your devices. It's also been pet approved in this household. If you're interested in upgrading your reading chair too, or just looking for a comfortable chair for anywhere in your home, you can check it out by clicking the link below, and you can use my exclusive code Lotus30 to save $30 off and receive free shipping. Thank you again so much to FlexiSpot for sponsoring this video, and now we can get into the books. Starting off in October, first up is Hazelthorn by C.G. Drews, which comes out at the end of October, October 28th. This is a young adult, queer, horror, gothic, fantasy style book. And if you saw my last video, you already know my thoughts of this because I had an arc of this book, I read it early, and I shared all of my thoughts in that video, so you can go check that out to hear what I thought about it and to get my detailed review to help you decide if you want to pick it up or not. It's described as a hauntingly beautiful tale of murder and botanical body horror, which I think is a very good description for it. You're following a character named Evander who's been living in this estate with a guardian forever, and then his guardian dies and he's inheriting the estate. And a lot of secrets start to come out about the estate, his caretaker, and even himself. Let's go through some books I have early copies of next. I haven't read any of these yet, but I do have early copies of them on NetGalley. First is The Unveiling by Quan Berry. And this one's been making me a little nervous because average rating is super low. This author wrote We Ride Upon Sticks, which I haven't read, but I've heard good and bad things about, and this one intrigued me. It is a horror book. It's coming out October 14th. It is a genre-bending novel of literary horror set in Antarctica that explores abandonment, guilt, and survival in the shadow of America's racial legacy. I love a survival story. I feel like people are so polarized around survival stories. People love them, people hate them. I love them, so maybe I'll be on the good side of liking this, but I know We Ride Upon Sticks had like a weird writing style to it, so maybe this is like a weird book that people aren't really liking, but cold Antarctic survival, literary, genre bending, that all sounds interesting to me. So I'm still gonna try it. We'll see how it goes. The Grace View Patient by Caitlin Starling comes out also October 14th. This is a gothic horror book that's said to be misery meets invasion of the body snatchers. Also a genre bending book that is a claustrophobic hospital gothic. I have read 2 of Caitlin Starling's books. I enjoyed both of them. I particularly enjoyed The Starving Saints. And so I know this is also a polarizing author who writes kind of weird stuff, but it's got my attention. The Devil She Knows by Alexandria Bellafleur is a queer romance that's coming out October 21st. In the story, a down-on-her-luck woman makes a deal with a crafty demon to win back her ex-girlfriend after a proposal gone awry, only to discover that the girl of her dreams might be the devil she knows. I can't tell how paranormal and fantasy this is going to get. I hope it really leans into it because that could be fun. The cover initially attracted me to this book, and then reading the description, I was even more sold on it. And I do need some fluffy things to mix up all of the dark reads that are coming in October, so I'm excited to check this one out. Similarly, Good Spirits by B.K. Borison is a paranormal holiday romance coming out October 21st. He's the ghost of Christmas Past. She's not exactly Scrooge. Ghost of Christmas Past, Nolan Callahan intends to spend this holiday haunting like every other, get in, get out, return to his otherwise aimless existence as a ghost awaiting the afterlife. But when he's faced with Harriet York, the sweetest assignment he's ever had, he suddenly finds himself wishing for a future. I love a little paranormal romance, what can I say? Back to the horror, we have Crafting for Sinners by Jenny Kiefer, which comes out October 7th. This is a queer horror story where you're following a queer woman who has to fight her way out of a big box craft store run by a diabolical religious cult. Also another survival story. And I did not realize this, but I have read from this author before. I did read This Wretched Valley, and I really disliked that book. That's one of my very few 1 stars that I've given in the last couple of years. And so that is worrisome because I was not putting 2 and 2 together. This was the same author, but the concept sounds so good. And I feel like I've been hearing good early reviews of this. So hopefully I like it, but now I am a little bit nervous. It does say it appeals to fans of The Cabin at the End of the World by Paul Tremblay and The Ritual by Adam Neville, and I love the book, The Cabin at the End of the World by Paul Tremblay. I didn't read the book, The Ritual, but I did watch the movie, and it's a 5-star movie for me, so it's got big shoes to fill, but maybe it'll be perfectly for me. Forgive me, but I must tell you there's a new Frida McFadden book coming out in October. On October 7th, we have The Intruder. This is a stuck in a cabin during a hurricane type of story. There's a girl lurking outside of the window. She's young and alone and she's covered in blood. The girl won't explain where she came from or loosen her grip on the knife in her hand. And then there are disturbing discoveries to be made. The girl has a dark secret, one that she'll kill to keep. Will I read it? I don't know. I have been taking a little bit of a break from Frida McFadden. I kind of just moved her into this category in my mind of like, if I truly just want to have a palate cleanser, you know, something pretty neutral, easy breezy, throw the audiobook on, or if the FOMO just overcomes me and I must know what her new popular release is, or if it ends up inevitably in the Goodreads Choice Award and I'm reading the category and I end up having to read it, that's kind of where she sits for me. So definitely not one of my most anticipated, but it is one of the most anticipated releases in October that I would be remiss to leave off. Something I am really intrigued by is Katrina Ward's new book, Nowhere Burning. This is set in the Rocky Mountains, and it's said to be perfect for fans of Riley Sager and the show Yellow Jackets. In the middle of the night, Riley pulls her younger brother Oliver out of bed and the two run away from home. Riley is intent on joining a group of teenagers squatting in the abandoned ruins of an infamous movie star's ranch, Nowhere. For actor Leif Winham, Nowhere was a place to hide from his fame and to hide his crimes until a fire ravaged his home and exposed him as a murderer. It's rumored that the ranch, nestled in the peaks of the Rocky Mountains, is now home to a group of feral children, a place where adults can't enter, and Riley hopes to find a new family there. But the Nowhere kids are fierce in defending their turf and their clan, and Riley quickly realizes that while she and Oliver may have left the devil they knew, this group is a new type of diabolical. Back to some paranormal romance on October 7th. Mate, the follow-up to Bride by Ali Hazelwood's coming out. I loved Bride. I'm excited for Mate. In this one, a human hybrid and an alpha were claw against the bonds of fate. If you read Bride, you're familiar with Serena, and she's going to be the main female character in the story. This is a world with werewolves and vampires and humans and clashes between them all. And Bride was silly, and it was just the kind of silly that I needed. I did do a whole dedicated video to my experience with that book. If you're curious to hear my thoughts, I will definitely be rewatching that video myself to refresh myself for Mate. But I'm excited for more werewolf and vampire romance stuff in my life. For some reason, October is also a popular month for some weird celebrity pairings. The first one is Gone Before Goodbye, which is Reese Witherspoon and Harlan Coben's book. It's coming out October 14th. I have read one book from Harlan Coben before, and I liked it. So I'm intrigued by him as a writer. I've watched a lot of the shows that have been made as adaptations of his books, and I like watching those as well. Reese Witherspoon, how much did she actually have involvement in this book? Who knows? But I've read her book club picks. I've watched shows that she's adapted with her production company. She definitely has a taste for what she likes, telling empowering stories about women. I don't know. I'm kind of curious about this one. This one follows the story of a woman trapped in a deadly conspiracy where uncovering the truth could cost her everything. Maggie is teetering on the brink, a highly skilled and renowned army combat surgeon. She has always lived at the edge where she could make the most impact, and it was all going to plan until it wasn't. There were a series of tragedies leading to her medical license being revoked. She's lost her purpose, but not her nerve or her passion. She gets thrown a lifeline by a former colleague who's an elite plastic surgeon whose anonymous clientele demand the best care money can buy, as well as absolute discretion. Halfway across the globe, sequestered in the lap of luxury and cutting-edge technology, one of the world's most mysterious men requires unconventional medical assistance. Desperate and one of the few surgeons in the world skilled enough to take the job, Maggie enters his realm of unspeakable opulence and fulfills her end of the agreement, but when the patient suddenly disappears while still under her care, Maggie must become a fugitive herself, or she will be the next one who is. I don't know what that means. I don't really get what this book is about. It is kind of surprising when you see, okay, Reese Witherspoon's involved in the story, like what is this going to be? I don't know where my mind goes, but it certainly wasn't this necessarily. So it has piqued my attention. We'll see if I read it. The other one I definitely won't be reading, but I just thought while I was bringing up these weird celebrity pairings, I would bring up that Nicholas Sparks and M. Night Shyamalan are working on a book together. This is coming out October 7th, and it is a romance slash mystery slash thriller slash paranormal type of story. Yeah, I don't know. I kind of checked this one out when I first heard about it, and I don't think I'll be picking it up, but interesting choice, I guess. We're still on October releases. We've got a couple more to go. October has a lot I'm interested in, and then it really will dwindle so fast from here. On October 21st, The Deadly Book Club by Lynn Lau Butler. I read, I think, the first book from this author, or maybe they've written more. Someone Else's Life? Is that the book I read, or did I read something else? I read What Is Mine. Okay, so this author has a lot of other books. I read What Is Mine, which was a mystery thriller, and I did enjoy that one. This book is another mystery thriller coming out from this author, and it is following a virtual book club who listens in horror when the screen freezes and one of their members is murdered, which sounds like a freaking nightmare. They're all prominent book influencers who are on this video call together, and then, yeah, someone gets murdered, an investigation begins to unearth secrets each of them needs to keep buried, jealousies, hidden resentments, trouble in their personal lives. Sounds like a juicy time. The last couple of books I have for October are fantasy and sci-fi books that are sort of loosely on my radar. Sound interesting. If I'm in the mood to pick up a fantasy or sci-fi, I can see myself picking up one of these. The Everlasting by Alex E. Harrow. I'm hearing excellent reviews of this, so it's really caught my attention. I have read a bit from Alex E. Harrow before. I read a novella. I read The Once and Future Witches, but I did DNF it like halfway through. So I'm familiar with their writing style. It's definitely atmospheric and lush. And this one is a genre-defying adventure through time as a reluctant lady knight and a not-so-heroic historian will fight through time and space to rewrite their tragic fates and finally reveal the truths hidden beneath the greatest legend ever told. The synopsis from there, kind of vague, but it sounds sort of epic, and I'm hearing it's really good, so definitely got my attention. Local Heavens by K.M. Fajardo has been on my radar for a long time, ever since I saw them on my TikTok a long time ago talking about this book and the process of getting their debut published, and they were describing it as a sci-fi Gatsby type of story, which intrigued me. And then I think this was picked as an aardvark book a month ago or so. I haven't heard many thoughts on it yet, and it doesn't look like it has a ton of ratings on it yet, but the cover is just so gorgeous, and the concept of like a sci-fi Gatsby was really intriguing, and it's a queer story. All of those things sounded intriguing to me. So I'm curious to see some more early reviews. I do think this is just like one of my favorite covers that I've seen all year. It's so pretty. The Isle in the Silver Sea by Tasha Suri. This is a queer fantasy coming out October 21st. This is said to be a heart-shattering romantasy of sapphic longing, medieval folklore, and a love that spans the centuries. And I love a very epic romance like that, so that's what attracted me to this book. I love longing and yearning, and I hope it really feels like that, because I could really use a book like that. I think I saw this recommended too after enjoying The Starving Saints by Caitlin Starling and seeing something about like more lady night stories, because I think this is about a knight and a witch. I think that's how it first came on my radar. So I'm very intrigued by this one. And I think that finally brings us to the end of the October books. First up for November, there's one book that I have an arc of, and that is The House Sapphire. I just want to say Sapphire, but that's not Sapphire, so Saphir, The House Saphir by Marissa Meyer. And I'm a big fan of Marissa Meyer, so excited to check out this one. It is a romantasy and a murder mystery that is a Bluebeard retelling. It is a young adult book, which I don't read a ton of, but I've had good experiences with Marissa Meyer's YA in the past, and a Bluebeard retelling just sounded fun to me, and I like that it has a murder mystery element. You're following Mallory, who is a fraud. She comes from a long line of witches, but she only has magic where she can see ghosts, which is not very useful. She and her sister maintain the family business, eking out a paltry living by selling bogus spells to gullible buyers and conducting tours of the infamous mansion where the first of the Saphir murders took place. Mallory is a self-proclaimed expert on the Count, otherwise known as Monsieur Lebleu, who brutally killed 3 of his wives more than a century ago, but she never expected to meet his great-great-grandson and heir to the estate. Armand is handsome, wealthy, and convinced that the sisters are as talented as they claim, so he's the perfect mark. When he offers Mallory a large sum of money to rid his ancestral home of Lebleu's ghost, she can't resist. A paid vacation is a dream come true, but when murder again comes, Mallory finds herself at the center of the investigation, and she is almost certain the killer is mortal. For another retelling coming out November 18th, there is I, Medusa by Ayana Gray, which I think has a gorgeous cover as well. Obviously, this is a Medusa retelling. In this book, her name is Medi. She spent her whole life as a footnote in someone else's story, out of place next to her beautiful, immortal sisters and her parents. She dreams of leaving her family's island for a life of adventure. So when she catches the eye of the goddess Athena, who invites her to train as an esteemed priestess in her temple, she leaps at the chance to see the world beyond her home. In Athens, she flourishes in her role as Athena's favored acolyte, but when she is noticed by another Olympian, Poseidon, a drunken night between girl and god ends in violence, and the course of Medi's promising future is suddenly and irrevocably altered. Her locks transformed into snakes as punishment for a crime that she did not commit. She has to embrace a new identity, not as a victim, but as a vigilante, and with it the chance to write her own story as mortal, martyr, and myth. I don't read a ton of retellings, but I always have found Medusa to be an interesting character, and I like the concept of a retelling. I just don't like gravitate towards them a ton, and then this one had a great cover, and then I read this, and I was like, yeah, that sounds like a good time to me. The Merge by Grace Walker is a sci-fi dystopia story coming November 6th. That sounds very good. In this world, Earth and its resources have been pushed to a breaking point, giving rise to a revolutionary and highly controversial procedure in which 2 people's consciousness can be combined to exist in one body. So you're following Lori, who is 65, living with Alzheimer's. Her daughter, Amelia, can't bear to see her mother's mind fade, and so Amelia signs them up to take place in the world's first experimental merging process for Alzheimer's patients, where Lori's ailing mind will be transferred into Amelia's healthy body and their consciousness will blend as one. Then they join this group of other merged people, or people who plan to also merge, and then they quickly begin to question if everything is really as it seems. This is another book where the cover first caught my attention, and then I read the synopsis. I was like, that sounds crazy, and I want to read it. And then lastly, for November, As Many Souls as Stars by Natasha Siegel is a fantasy romance coming out November 25th that is said to be good for fans of The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue, which is what first drew me to this. It is a romantic speculative novel about two women, a witch and an immortal demon, who make a Faustian bargain and are drawn into a cat and mouse chase across multiple lifetimes, which does sound very reminiscent of The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue, and I'm always looking for something that has that feeling to it as well. Just the concept of like a romance span across time sounds very good to me. And this one sounds great. And I know I'm not gonna be able to get to all of these books because I'm reading less in general, and I've talked about a lot of books so far, but just looking at them all, I'm like, I want them. I want to read them all. They all sound so good. And lastly, I only have 2 books to talk about for December. I told you there's not a lot going on in December. The first one is Persephone's Curse, the new Katrina Leno book. And I love Katrina Leno's books. I've read so many of them. I've enjoyed so many of them. This one's coming out December 2nd, and it's said to be The Hazelwood meets Laini Taylor in this gorgeous speculative tale of sisterhood, ghosts, and old family curses. Are the 4 Farthing sisters really descended from Persephone? This is what their aunt has always told, that the women in their family can trace their lineage right back to the goddess of the dead. And maybe she's right, because the Farthing girls do have a ghost in the attic of their Manhattan brownstone, a kind and gentle ghost named Henry who only they can see. When one of the sisters falls in love with the ghost and another banishes him to the underworld, the sisters are faced with even bigger questions about who they are. If they really are related to Persephone and they really are a bit magic, then perhaps it's up to them to save Henry, to save the world, and to save each other. Again, not a huge reader of mythology, but I do like the concept of exploring a Persephone type of story, and I love Katrina Leno, so I am so here for this book. And then lastly, Everyone in the Group Chat Dies by L.M. Chilton. I believe this was published in the UK already, but is getting published in the US in December. This is another book from the author of the book Swiped, which I think has also changed names. Yeah, they changed it to Don't Swipe Right. I don't know why that happened. When I read this book, it was called Swiped, and then they changed it to Don't Swipe Right, and they totally changed the cover and everything about it. I think that title's still fine. I think this cover's still fine, but it is a confusing experience. Anyway, I really liked Swiped, and so I'm excited to read another mystery from this author. In this one, you're following Kirby Cornell, who needs a break from everything. Her crumbling flat in the sleepy town of Crowhurst, famous for its award-winning sausage rolls and a second-date serial killer from the 90s. Her dead-end job, her sleazy landlord, her slobbish housemates, and most of all, the terrible thing they all did. Luckily, that hasn't caught up with her just yet until a new message on their old group chat pops. Everyone in the group chat will die. Dun dun dun. I really like this author's style in the first book I read from them. This one sounds like it has a fun concept, and I'm excited to check it out. And that is it for all of the books that are coming out throughout the rest of the year that I'm excited about. Let me know down below if there's any books that I didn't mention that you think should be on my radar. Let me know out of the ones that I did mention if there's any books you're excited about as well. Like I said, definitely won't be getting to all of them, but I'm going to get to as many of them as I can because so many of them sound so good and they just get me so excited to pick them up. But that was it for me. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you on my next video. Bye!